What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, my name is Devontae, and I'm a first grade teacher in the Middle Tennessee area. And today we're going to be looking at 15 books that can help you diversify your classroom library. Let's get started. All right, guys, so I know I talked about in the last vlog that this was going to be a part 2, but this is not going to be that. And the reason why is for a couple of different reasons. I just haven't been here this past week. I have stuff to do, but there are some things that are keeping me from doing that. I currently need to make like name tags, different labels for my kids, for like their headphones, their book boxes. And I can't really do that just because I don't have a class list, and I probably won't have one for another 2 weeks. So that's put on pause. I also could have made this vlog about our new reading curriculum. I know I've talked about it before, but we are starting to use EL as our new reading curriculum, and I've been working a lot over the summer. I plan on showing you guys some things I've been working on, but I didn't think that this vlog would be the particular time. I'm looking more for next week to be that time, just because I'm still going to trainings. I have a training next week on Tuesday, actually, to still talk about EL, and I wanted to wait until after that last training for EL before I put anything out about that. So that'll be coming up next. After that one, I can probably put in our part 2. But like I said before, for now, it's just put on pause just because the things that I am doing, it's going to be some time before I can actually get them done. But I'm super excited for this. I think that now more than ever is the perfect time to try to diversify your library, especially now with all the current events that are going on around the world. As a person of color, as being a Black male, I know how much representation matters, and having the positive influences of someone that looks like me in person, in a book, in toys, in TV. And I know that other minorities and other people of color share that same idea as me as far as representation. You know, just seeing yourself or seeing someone that looks like you in a positive light is something that I think all people of color aspire to see. And then also something that someone who is not a minority race can sometimes take for granted. So again, we're going to go ahead and get into these 15 books. They are not ranked in any type of order. These are just books that either I personally have or books that I would like to have. And hopefully these aren't any of those big name books or books that you guys already know of. I'm sure a couple of them will be, but hopefully for the most part, these will be new books for you, or books that, you know, this will be your first exposure to. But let's go ahead and get started with our first book. All right, y'all, so the first book we're going to get into is called Soulway, and it's by Lupita Nyong'o. This is a book that I actually bought last year through our Scholastic Book Fair. Well, actually, I didn't buy it. Every year, they draw out teachers' names that get free, like $15 or $20 vouchers, and I was one person that got picked last year, and so I used my voucher to purchase this book, and I do not regret it at all. This is an amazing book that just talks about being comfortable and confident in the skin that you're in, and just really honing in on, you know, you are beautiful no matter how you look. So just to get the gist of it, our main character, Soulway, as the book describes, is the color of midnight. It talks about how her mom is the color of dawn, her dad's the color of dusk, her sister's the color of high noon. And she kind of can tell a difference between how people treat her and how people treat her sister, being of a lighter skin tone than her. And so she talks about how she wishes so much that she was lighter like her sister. And then she has this dream about the sun and the moon that has to deal with light and dark. And she, at the end, comes to this realization. Well, actually, I spoke too much already. I don't want to spoil the entire book for you. It is a fantastic book. I would highly suggest you get it. Like I said before, it's just a book that will just make you so much more confident in being, you know, in your skin, whatever varying shade your skin is. So again, highly suggest you buy it. It is a fantastic book. And like I said before, my kids love the book. Like I said, we've read it 4 or 5 different times, and it's just something that has always just been good to see and good to talk about with our kids. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter, how light or dark that you are. What really matters is, just you being yourself and how you treat others. All right, y'all, now that we're done with that one, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, y'all, so the next book that we have is Those Shoes by Mary Beth Boltz. This is another book that I have that we use when we're talking about wants and needs for our social studies unit. So the gist of this one is that we have our main character, Jeremy, who notices that a lot of the people in his school have a particular type of shoes, which hence the title, Those Shoes. And he and his grandmother go out one day to try to find them, but they're too expensive. But they go to this thrift store and they find them. They find those shoes, but they're too small for his feet. And so we talk about whether that's something that, he wants, something that he needs. Oh, and also before all that, the shoes that he has, they break. And so when he goes to the guidance counselor to get more shoes, there are some shoes that he really doesn't want, which kind of sparks his interest in finding those shoes. And then we just talk about wants and needs. And then some different events happen towards the end of the book where it just really defines, wants versus needs. So again, it's a good book to share when you're talking about wants and needs. I feel like I'm saying that 25,000 times. But when you're talking about that topic for your social studies, that is a great book to pair it with, just because it really solidifies something that is a want versus something that is a need. Especially when talking about the different characters and what their wants and needs are. So I highly suggest this one. And now we're gonna move on to our next book. All right, guys, so our next book is called The Name Jar. This is probably one of the more popular books I'm gonna talk about. This is about a little girl who moves to a new school, but she's very anxious about how people will say her name. And so when she introduces herself, she talks about how she's not going to tell them her name until the end of the week. And so this sparks, everyone's interest in finding out what her name is. So they're guessing all these different names. They're putting the names in this name jar. And they're just generic names well, I shouldn't say generic, but they are more popular names or more used names like Sarah, Lauren, and things like that. But someone in her class actually figures out her real name, and then the name jar disappears. And so after that name jar disappears, that kind of gives her the opportunity to tell her classmates what her real name is and how to pronounce it. And as someone who has went through that, my name being mispronounced, misspelled, even after corrections, I can really resonate with, a book like this. And I'm sure there are countless other people who could resonate with this book as well. Again, just a good book to have, especially for the first day of school when you're learning names. All right, the next book that we have is called The Invisible Boy. This is one that I have in my slew of books for the beginning parts of school. This is more so when we're talking about different cultures and how to accept people from a different culture. So we have our main character. His name is Brian, and he's our invisible boy because, he doesn't talk to anyone. No one really notices him until we have our new character, Justin, who's new to the school, come in. And so they become friends. And when they become friends, Brian starts to shine and he really starts to, become himself. We focus more so particularly on a certain part of the book where they go to lunch, and Justin brings in a food that not a lot of people know. And so while most of the class kind of talks about him and talks about his food, Brian kind of sticks up for him and is still his friend through it all. And so that really just sparks a discussion of, when you notice that someone has something or does something that's different from what's considered your own culture or what's considered normal, how should you treat them? What's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do? We just kind of talk about, how can we show people in our different communities, whether it's our home community, our school community, our city community, how can we show people who have different cultures how they are accepted, or how can we show that we accept them and the differences that they bring? All right, so our next book is called Festival of Colors by, let me get this right, Kabir Segal. And this is one that I want to add to my library. Actually, I don't need to add it to my library because someone bought it from my Amazon wish list and it is at home right now. So I will be able to use it this upcoming year. But this is a just beautiful book, especially the illustrations describing the holiday of Holi. And I want to use this just to kind of get my kids acclimated with different holidays from different cultures. I mean, we always talk about, the big ones, Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and things like that. But I really want to pull in some other holidays that my students might not know, just so that way they can see different representations of different holidays. And this one actually sparked my interest back at the end of the last school year, back in March, because my class last year, I think, was one of the most diverse classes I've ever had, as far as ethnicities go. But I mean, it was just so diverse, and I think that was just so great for them to kind of see already, just like in our school community, just so many diverse people. And it really made it easier, I think, for us to have those diversity discussions. But that's it for Festival of Colors. We're gonna move into the next one, which is Jabari Jumps. Now, I'm not really going to talk about Jabari Jumps because this is, I think, the most popular book that I have on this list. But I will say that this is just one about perseverance and overcoming your fears. And shameless plug, there's another book that I just found out about called Jabari Tries. I haven't really looked up that one too much, but these are some that I would include, especially because our new curriculum talks about different habits of character, like perseverance, collaboration, compassion, empathy, things like that. So I think that those would be great for talking about perseverance and working through problems to get to your solution. All right, guys, next up we have Just Ask by Sonia Sotomayor. In case you don't know who Sonia Sotomayor is, she is one of our Supreme Court justices for the United States of America. And in this book, I believe this talks about her childhood as well. So as a child, Sonia Sotomayor was diagnosed with diabetes. And so she kind of uses that experience to write a book about children who have different abilities. And so these kids are coming together to build a garden. And as they're building a garden, they're just asking different questions about each other and just figuring each other out. I think that is something that is so simple, but also kind of stigmatized a little bit, because a lot of people say if you see someone that's different from you, you don't ask about it out of respect for them. And, you don't want to seem ignorant or things like that. But for me, personally, I think that, you should just ask. Obviously, we talk about, the right way to ask someone something and the wrong way to ask someone something. But, the big gist is, if you don't know something, or if you want to know more information on something, the easiest thing for you to do is just to ask about it. All right, guys, next up on our list is Little Red and the Very Hungry Lion. This book is a variation of the fairy tale, Little Red Riding Hood. And I added this book just because it's fun, it's quirky, because not everything that we read has to have some type of serious topic or, teachable moment from it. Sometimes we just read silly books because we're first graders. But I thought this would be a good one to add, just because when we do talk about fairy tales in our class, we also talk about different variations of things. We've in the past done Cinderella, we've done the Three Little Pigs, and now with this one, we can get Little Red Riding Hood in the mix with that as well. But that's why I added this one. It's, like I said, just that variation, just with a little safari twist to it. Like I said, it has some of that diversity in the book as well. All right, my friends, next up we have You Seen My Elephant? This is also just another one of those books we read for fun, just for laughs. This book just follows around an elephant who wants to play hide and seek. And so our main character in the book, as well as the readers in this book, we just flip through the pages and we try to find the elephant, which, if you don't know, elephants are huge, so that won't be very hard to find, which is kind of, the jokey, funny part of it, is that, he's trying to hide, but it's so easy to find him. But also through the book, there's also some other animals that you look out for that might not be as easy to find as elephant, but again, just another book just to have fun with. All right, next up we have Maybe Something Beautiful, How Art Transformed a Neighborhood. This is a book that is actually based on a true story, and it's just about how in this book there's a town that's just gray, and the community comes together to make the city vibrant and colorful. And it just goes to show how even though you might be perceived as little, or even though you might be a child, you can always make, a big impact. And I like to share that with my kids, just because you're first graders, just because, you're 6 or you're 7, doesn't mean that you can't do great things. So that one's just more of a boost of, confidence for my kids. All right, our next book is My Heart Fills with Happiness. This is one that I like to read just throughout the year, just because we all know that there are going to be days where we're just, not feeling it. We're just not in the mood, me included. So I always like to read this book every now and then just to, remind kids, you might not be having the best day. You might not, feel your best, but you can always find happiness in the littlest of places. All right, next up we have The Field by Baptiste Paul. This book is a bilingual book, so it has words in English and Spanish, especially with our Hispanic population on the rise. I thought this would be a great addition to my classroom library. As far as this book, it's just about a community, just a group of, boys, girls, children, adults, athletic, non-athletic. They're just all coming together to play soccer. And I think that this is, again, just a good book to have, just to show how, community of different people coming together. All right, guys, we're coming down to our final 3. Our next one is The Proudest Blue, and this one follows 2 sisters on their first day of school. But one of them has a little bit more special first day of school because it's also her first day wearing her hijab. And so she's super excited to wear it. It is a rite of passage for her to start wearing her hijab, and so she's super excited for it. But when she goes to school on her first day, she gets those glaring glances, and some of those unkind words. And it really just shows how, even though other people might not have the nicest things to say, or they might not have the best intentions, how you power through and how you be strong through that. All right, guys, our next book is The King of Kindergarten. This is a book that I have seen before, and I was like, put off by the kindergarten. I was like, oh, well, my kids aren't going to be into that. But with this upcoming pandemic, I've looked into it a little bit more, and I think that this would be a perfect addition for my first day of school this year. So just to give the gist of this one, we have our main character who is starting kindergarten, and he is just confidence up to from his head to his toes. I mean, he is just going through his first day of kindergarten, just rocking it out, from waking up in the morning to getting himself dressed, to eating his breakfast to get ready for his day. When he's at school, he's conquering all of his challenges, and then when he gets home, he is just so ecstatic to share with his mom and dad all the things he's done, and then ready to conquer the next day as well. And I think that that's a good message to send to kids, especially this upcoming year with a lot of challenges that we're going to be seeing in the classroom. And hopefully I can spin that into a, hey, we see this king of kindergarten. How can we be, the kings and queens of first grade? What are some things that we can power through? What are some challenges that we might see? And how can we overcome them with this school year? And so that's why I plan to use this book. I haven't gotten it yet, but I will be getting it. And I will let you guys know, hopefully in the future, how this works out for me. But this is, again, the King of Kindergarten, and that is how I plan on using that book. All right, y'all, our last book. This is one that I think is starting to pick up a lot of traction. All right, so this book is All Are Welcome, and it's by Alexandra Penfold. And just like the title suggests, it talks about how all children, no matter, your age, your race, your ability or disability, you are loved, you are welcome, and you will always be welcome here at this school. You'll always be appreciated. And I think that's a message, again, that, all children are going to be needing, especially this year. So this is another one that I plan on reading for our first couple of days of school, somewhere in there. All right, y'all, but that's our list. I hope that I've shared some books with you that you see and you're like, oh, I would use that in my room, or, oh, that's a great addition. And I know also that I didn't cover all of them. I know that I've left some out. There's some that I have currently that I didn't add to this list. But if there's one that you have that you think would be a great addition to Diversify, anyone's classroom library, feel free to put it in the description box below. I'm always looking for more books to add, and I would love to see your guys' suggestions on what I should add to my library. All right, y'all, so hopefully I can get through this before my battery dies. But one last thing I wanted to share with you guys was my Amazon wish list, because I did talk about how a couple of the books were on my Amazon wish list and a couple of people bought them for me. So I wanted to talk about the process that I went through, and then just sharing some of the things that I have gotten so far. So in the county that I work in, someone had started an Adopt a Teacher Facebook page, and I was nominated by someone in that thread to be adopted. Within like 2 days, someone had adopted me, and they were like, just send me some things that you like to have, and I can be sure to get some things for you. And so I just thought, Amazon wishlist would probably be the easiest thing, so that way they could just send it straight to me. I'll get it, no problem, or whatever. So I sent her a message just saying, thank you so much for adopting me. I greatly appreciate it. I figured an Amazon wishlist would probably be the easiest way to get things to me, so here's the link to that. And I just updated that. I thought she would probably get me like, 1 or 2 different things off of there. No. Homegirl got me like 10 different things. So I was like, oh my gosh. And then some other people got me some things too. Now this isn't everything. I still have a couple of things at home, but I'll just share the things that I have here that I've gotten so far. All right, y'all. So first off, I'm going to share some of the books that I've gotten off of there. Again, I have Jabari Jumps that I had on my Amazon wish list. I did not put Jabari Tries, but after looking that up, I will be adding that. Also have One Family, as well as Happy in Our Skin. I got Festival of Colors through there. I'm also got My Heart is Full of Happiness. Those books are at home, and I'm actually in the process of getting some more books. Some other things that I got were some recess things, because we were told that yes, we go outside for recess, but no, we cannot use the playground equipment. We're going to have to do social distance games. I have no clue what social distance games are, so I went ahead and just some things on my Amazon wish list for recess. So 2 different people got me jump ropes, so I have 6 jump ropes. I have these right here. I forget what they're called, but you put the little circle thing, you put your foot through it, and you have it on your ankle, and you kick it around, and the ball goes around you, and you have to like jump over the ball. I forget what it's called, but it was super popular when I was younger. I know that y'all know what I'm talking about, so I'm not gonna worry about figuring out what it's called. Y'all got me. Also have gloves. I have some lanyards. I was going to use these for name tags and clever badges this year, but I saw somewhere where they would hook their mask to lanyards, so I'm thinking about doing that. So that way, when they're outside or when they're eating lunch in the room, they can kind of take that mask off and not worry about having to set it down or anything. It'll just hang from their lanyard. I also have these bead necklaces for brag tags if we're doing them this year. I'm not sure if we're gonna do them this year or not, but if we are, I have those. And I also have masking tape that I'll put on my Amazon wish list. I have a couple more stuff. I just can't think of what I've gotten that's still at home. But I do want to say thank you so much to everyone who has donated to my class. I am so thankful. Thank you so much. If you have the urge to donate to my class, I'll put my Amazon wish list below in the description box. Please don't feel like you have to, because you absolutely don't. But if that's something that you want to do, I'm not going to be mad at you. Even if you don't want to buy me anything, that's totally fine. But I would still suggest you look through the Amazon wish list, because there might be some things that, you see on there that you might not have thought of, but now that you see it, you're like, oh, this would be super helpful in my classroom. Or you might say, oh, I know somebody who might need this. So please feel free to go through and look for that as well. But other than that, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end, and I will see you in the next one.